What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another stimulus update. I want to let you know that the House of Representatives passed the roughly $1.9 trillion stimulus package, also called the American Rescue Plan. This was passed early this morning, roughly around 2 a.m. This was passed with a vote of 219 to 12. The two Democrats that voted against this bill were Oregon's Kurt Schrader and Maine's Jared Golden. So, the House stayed in session till about 2 a.m. just to get this bill passed. This means that this roughly $1.9 trillion stimulus package can now be kicked over to the Senate so they can go and debate this, possibly do some amendments, and then hopefully pass it. This will have to come back to the House because there will be things that will be amended, and then it can finally be signed into law by President Biden. This is where lawmakers right now anticipate multiple amendments, is in the Senate. They are saying that we already know there will be at least one change because the House of Representatives did not change their bill, so it includes a $15 federal minimum wage increase. This bill, this minimum wage increase, could be in the House's version of the bill. However, we already know that the Senate parliamentarian has ruled against this. She did this on Thursday, so this cannot be in the bill. So the House will have to do a revote on this package as soon as the Senate passes it. Let me refresh your memory on what is actually included in this bill, because I know it's been a little bit of it's been a few weeks since we've really addressed this and touched on a lot of the different things. So I have a little bit of a bigger list here, but I'm not going to go into everything, go into all the details, because as of right now, there's still a lot of amendments that are being expected to come through the Senate. So first, here's what we know. $1,400 stimulus checks to every single American. This means the filers, their spouse, their child, and any adult dependents. As far as the $600 in retroactive stimulus for adult dependents, that is not being included into this package. This will be $400 per week for unemployment. This will go until August 29th. We will see at least $3,000 for child tax credits. This will go until possibly see this go. We start seeing payments on this in July. This will go for 2 years. It will be $3,000 for children between 6 and 17 and $3,600 for children between 0 and 5. We also know there's $350 billion for state and local government funding, $170 billion for schools, $50 billion for COVID testing, $16 billion for vaccine distribution, $12 billion for airlines to avoid layoffs, $25 billion to bars and restaurants. This is one of the things that Chuck Schumer previously proposed, and this was included in this bill. $28 billion for transit agencies, $45 billion for Obamacare subsidies, $7 billion for nutrition assistance, $30 billion for rental assistance. The $15 federal minimum wage is still in here. However, it has already been axed by the Senate, and there's much more as well. So, the big question right now is, yes, the bill's passed, great. It passed through the House. That was not the hard part. That was the easy part. Only 2 Democrats in the House voted against this, so it's still passed. However, if just one Democrat votes against this bill in the Senate, which Joe Manchin said he might because of the minimum, or the $15 minimum wage, but being that that's axed, now some, like Bernie Sanders, are saying we need something. So I don't think Bernie Sanders will vote against the bill, but others might. That's a big issue for people in the Senate. For Democrats in the Senate, they cannot go into a vote not knowing if somebody's going to vote against them. So this is big. But here's a couple questions that we currently have. Now, Progressives want to see a larger stimulus check. They also want to see $15 federal minimum wage increase. They also want $600 for unemployment, and there's other things they want as well, but let's start with those 3. Since the $15 federal minimum wage can't happen in this bill whatsoever, it cannot be included in the budget reconciliation, which means it has to go to a standalone bill. But as of right now, Senator Bernie Sanders and Senator Ron Wyden are already putting together a complex tax bill that would at least have a workaround to entice companies to pay at least a livable wage of $15 per hour. However, many people would be left out of this bill. Many people would be left out of this workaround, so some are saying that it actually doesn't do what the plan of the Senate would actually require. So right now, Bernie Sanders wants to see every single American making at least $15 per hour. But according to reports, if the bill states that only companies with 500 or more employees would get this tax penalty, then any small companies would not have to provide a $15 minimum wage. If that's the case, many small companies are actually going to be hurt by this, not impacted and have some type of benefit from this. So that's what some are saying is a big issue. They're still trying to figure this out, but we will see what happens there. I think it was just this morning or last night that one of the agencies one of the committees end up getting this bill. So we will see as they work through it, see if they make any changes. We also know that the Congressional Budget Office, and this is a big issue, the CBO stated that the $15 minimum wage increase was going to cost roughly $77 billion to the federal government. Now, the Senate is tasked with trying to decide, do they repurpose the $77 billion or do they just make the bill smaller? Well, reports indicate that the Senate is going to reuse those funds for other provisions. Chuck Schumer, he wanted restaurants to be included. Those are included. I do not know if that was included and that was kind of against that $77 billion. We don't know that yet. I don't think it was, but we don't know. There's also no student loan forgiveness. This is another thing that Chuck Schumer, who is the Senate Majority Leader, he wants this as well. So does Elizabeth Warren. Progressives want to see a larger stimulus check. They'd like it to go from $1,400 up to $2,000. Something that I addressed yesterday was if we took the $77 billion and divided that by 160 million, which is roughly the amount of people that received the first stimulus check. If we do that, the difference would come out to roughly $480 per person. Well, if we just take that $480 and add it to the $1,400 stimulus check, that takes us up to $1,880. So right now that could be an additional, stimulus to the American people. And progressives might push for that, but at this time we just don't know. That is something that we will most likely hear about later on this weekend. Also, moderates say that the money would be best spent by putting it towards vaccine distribution and purchasing. That the majority of this bill does not go to actually crushing the virus, like Nancy Pelosi keeps saying, that we need to crush the virus. What we heard last night in the debate, if you watched that, which was absolutely boring, it was that only 10 cents for every dollar of this bill goes to crush the virus. The rest just goes to other things, other priorities. For instance, unemployment benefits, child tax credits, and also stimulus checks. Either way, whatever the Senate decides to do, the Senate is going to have they're going to have a harder time agreeing than the House previously did. We know that the House had a lot more power. The Senate, being it's a 50-50 split, is going to have to really dig in and figure out what every single Democratic senator wants. Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are the two wild cards at this time. The good thing right now is that this bill shouldn't take too long. We have 2 weeks from tomorrow. 2 weeks from tomorrow to get this done and signed, not just passed by the Senate, but go back to the House, pass it there, and then they got to kick it over to President Biden's desk so he can sign it as well. All this has to be done by March 14th. That's 2 weeks from tomorrow. So, what we know is that at least the framework is done. The Senate just needs to finalize the deal and amend the few things that they don't like. Remember, Democrats hold all the power, so it does not matter what Republicans want or what they would like to see in this bill. President Biden, however, still wants to see a bipartisan deal done. However, reports at this time indicate that it's too late in the game to get this done, and it would take roughly 3 weeks just to have a bipartisan agreement. So, a bipartisan bill at this point is seen as highly unlikely. So, some are saying that the best option right now is for Republicans just to agree on certain pieces of legislation, just to pass this bill, do not get in the way, and then they can try and get more of their priorities in the infrastructure bill, which they are already discussing. It's going to be anywhere from $2 to $3 trillion. So, we also know that there is nothing in this bill for people on Social Security, which is, I know a lot of people are kind of hurt by that. Why? Why is there nothing in this when President Biden ran and campaigned on a $200 per month Social Security boost? We don't know. As far as essential workers and hazard pay, there's nothing in this. There's nothing in this bill for essential workers. However, Nancy Pelosi did change her talk about the heroes the other day. She did state that she called workers that work for state and local governments are heroes. So, they will be getting a reward for working through this pandemic. However, pretty much every single person that here in the United States would be considered a hero because mainly they're getting a stimulus check. That's essentially what's happening. Is Nancy Pelosi is calling every single American our heroes because they're going to get a stimulus check. So right now, what she is, it's weird. It's odd because Joe Biden said this is a bipartisan bill, but there's no bipartisan agreement in Congress. The bipartisanship is from governors and for mayors. Yes, they may be a Republican governor, Republican mayor, but they only agree with this bill because you're giving them, $350 billion? Yeah, that would make some people agree to a bipartisan agreement or bipartisan bill, if that's what you want to call it. And now Nancy Pelosi is changing her definition of heroes by just saying, just anybody that works for state and local governments. So we'll see what happens now. But as we go through this weekend, I expect that we are going to hear about some new amendments coming out in the Senate later on this week, and I expect this to happen this weekend. But as always, as we know more, I promise I'll come back and share more. I just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Consider subscribing so that I can continue to keep you updated on everything that's going on, and I'll see you guys on the next one.